Let's do it.
All right, no Girl Scouts tonight. All right, good evening. This is it's February 11th, 2013, Rhinebeck Town Board meeting, and there's no Scouts here, but we'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. For announcements, the all real property exemption applications must be received by the assessor's office by March 1st. You can call the assessor's office at 876-4805 if you have any questions. These include all the benefits, the exemptions for seniors and veterans exemptions and so on. A lot of them have to be renewed. I don't believe Basic Star has to be, but if you have any questions, please call 876-4805. We're trying to reach out to seniors who we think may need them at this time. So you have to renew this March 1st in order to receive the benefits for the following year. So it's not like it's taxes for that previous years for next year. So anyways. Town Hall will be closed February 18th in observance of President's Day. That's February 18th. There's a couple of, the CAB, the Conservation Advisory Board, and Winnicke Land Trust will host a presentation on amphibian migrations and road crossings, sponsored by the New York State DEC Hudson River Estuary Program and Cornell University on February 19th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. February 19th at 7 p.m. You can call 256-3061, 256-3061 for more information.
I would just like to give a shout out to that program because, or that's a loud shout out, Fred. But it is an amazing event called Big Night, where you learn how to help amphibians and turtles cross the road. And you'll never drive down one of the Hudson Valley roads again after you know what's behind their crossing. And you'll be out there in the rain helping them across the road, and you'll feel really good about it. So it's an amazing program. So if anyone can make it next Tuesday, it's a great thing.
Further announcements on the board? Okay, we have approval for prior minutes from January 14th.
Tom, before we get to that other announcement, just to remind people, the Association of Towns is holding its annual meeting in New York City, President's Weekend, and there's a full agenda of events and programs that will be of interest to people involved in town government. Our court clerks are going, at least one of our justices is going, so if anybody else is interested, they ought to go online and look at the agenda for the meetings.
It's Monday and Tuesday, Joe.
Yes, Monday and Tuesday.
And just a reminder that our March 25th meeting will be canceled in observance of
Passover.
So for any other announcements? So for approval for the minutes from January 14th and 28th, with a motion and a second to vote.
Motion?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So moved. We have a presentation tonight, reference to the cemetery committee, Suzanne Kelly, and I think it might be just Suzanne, for some topics we've been dealing with the cemetery board.
Short. Hi. So we've got two issues. One I brought to you folks was that the last meeting? 2 meetings ago, I think.
Couple, yeah.
Yeah, and we went on our site visit, which you missed. Yep. But Elizabeth was there, and so we went over the mausoleum issue, and so here is the revised version of that mausoleum plan. It's basically as it was when we looked at it with just a little bit of tweaking. So as I talked about last time, we are trying to come up with a plan to cap the number of mausoleums in the Grassmere section, to reduce the size, or to cap the size of the mausoleums, and to really come up with some better siting options. So when someone decides to purchase plots for a mausoleum. So we decided on this criteria that the total number will not exceed 15. This includes the ones that are there now. So there are, I believe, 4, and there are 4 that are coming in that are being built right now. So that's a total of 8. There's 4 there now, right? Yeah. They're of different sizes. So 15 will be the cap. This is for what is currently surveyed, the current surveyed area of Grassmere. There is that open area in the back that is not surveyed yet, and maybe when that is surveyed at some later point, there would be more room for mausoleums, and actually it'd probably be a better spot for mausoleums because they would be clustered in the back and really in the tree line. Ideally, actually, what I think is that we should maybe even begin to site some of them back there without having the survey. Because you could just build the survey around it, but that might require a much larger conversation, so I thought we'd just move forward with this plan, which is much, much simpler. So total number of mausoleums, not to exceed 15. Mausoleum size will not exceed the 2-body capacity, which is the smaller size mausoleum that is there right now. And that, of course, could be one over the other or side by side. And you saw some of those options.
Yeah, we have 4 there already, correct?
That's right.
Some of them are 4-body mausoleums?
One is 12, I believe.
Which one is
The big one.
the more, yeah.
The one that's much bigger than the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest one. And so the 4 that are slated to go up, are those 2-body as well?
Yes, they are.
So the existing, beyond the existing, everything will be two, the smaller size?
Yes, the smaller size, right. And so we also thought that when someone purchases those plots, we'll actually sit down with them and decide where, they can't just pick where they want to go, as opposed to buying a plot for an in-ground burial, as you would. So the purchaser would meet with the town board liaison and the cemetery committee chair, and then we also would like for each purchase of mausoleum site to have the purchaser also purchase a tree. We're going to have a memorial tree program. We have a list of trees here, and they can choose the tree. The tree wouldn't necessarily be sited next to the mausoleum, but the idea is to create tree groves so that the mausoleums are brought down to scale, and so that they're buffered from the road. So that's basically the plan.
I can understand why some families might not want to go into eternity together, but limiting it to only 2 seems
Too small?
very small to
Okay.
me.
What would you recommend?
I would say maximum of 4.
Okay.
Does that increase the size
Yeah,
dramatically?
we had certainly considered that, and I hear you.
I mean, I think it's, it's real. I mean, I understand what you're saying. The concern is also the people around, outside the family, who might don't know what's going to happen. You buy a plot with your expectation of what you would look like, and then all of a sudden there's this 12-person structure up there. It's kind of, it's not what you expect or your family might expect. So we're kind of looking at it through those eyes too, I think, is the idea, not just the families who are buying these things or putting them up. So I think
The other families who are purchasing things as well. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough decision.
I mean, theoretically, the parents could buy one, and then children could buy adjoining ones or something
That's
like
what's being
that.
done sort of in this one cluster that was just purchased.
Right.
I mean, what do other folks think about what Gina's brought up?
I think you've done a very thorough and thoughtful job, and I'm happy with it. I didn't understand, I think it was maybe Howie who said it's a personal preference. Some people
Right.
don't like to be below ground, and I respect that. But I also am very aware of how it looks, how these structures, if not planned for, can really break up the serenity, or it's the look of the place. And I think the committee has a nice vision for it, and I'm fine with it. I do have a question about the trees, though.
Yeah.
Who chose the trees, and?
Those were chosen by Meg Crawford, who has come up with a larger tree planting plan for the cemetery. And these trees, I mean, the way that they have different root systems, So each tree will have to be picked for particular spots based upon what other graves are around there and what the roots can take in that
So,
spot.
but these, like, this is the American, oh, no, you don't have, the red maple is the American red maple, not the Norwegian. I mean, are we considering indigenous trees? I just have been through this a lot with my own property, because trees
Yeah.
are dying, climate's changing, and I've been having a lot of discussions with the DEC, and they're just very,
Sure. Yeah, I wish I could clarify that for you. And I don't, in
Just-
fact,
I
she had the Latin names on here, and I took them off. But I can get those to you,
yeah,
and that might clarify
I just
it.
wonder.
Yeah.
Will all the mausoleums be in one area?
They're not. The original plan was to have them in one area, and then there was sort of backlash against that a few years back from the adjoining property owners. And so the recommendation was to scatter them throughout and to buffer them, to either have them against the tree line, which is where they are going right now, but not have them all clustered against the tree line, because otherwise it will look sort of like a little city. So to have them against the tree line where possible and without creating one big block of mausoleums, to then put them in a few other spaces throughout the cemetery with tree clusters around them. But also limit the number of them so that it's not overwhelming at the same time.
Kind of like in the old part of the
Kind of like in
cemetery.
the old part of the cemetery, yeah. I mean, and when we went on the tour, Elizabeth could see that when they were sort of up against the tree line, they really were dwarfed in a way that made them look good. Yeah, and they didn't just look like suddenly there was this huge house that came out of nowhere.
No, I think it's nice, it's
Yeah.
lovely, and then the natural section, it's
Yeah.
feeling like there's a cohesive plan. Is a cemetery can be a beautiful place.
Yeah.
I think, though, there is something to what Gina says about limiting it to just two graves. That some people may want to be buried
Right,
close and have their children
right.
nearby. I don't know. You know, whatever number you pick, there'll always be some who say, well, I want
More.
more.
Mhm.
But, you know, to the extent that it's feasible, you might consider increasing it to 4.
Consider or give them two together,
Well, Gina, there's only,
Something like that.
there's only 10 there's only,
11.
no, 15,
Yeah.
or, there's only
7.
7 left, so there's a finite number. I mean,
Oh, 15 total. Well,
we
I
have
thought.
4 existing, 4 have been sold, and there's 15, so 8 from 15, 7.
So are we, in the big picture, looking to move away from mausoleums totally because of part of the green cemetery?
I think that we can't move away from them because this is, people want them, we have to be able to offer them, but just not to offer them in any size possible. Like I said, there is that section in the back that still needs to be surveyed, and I think
Right.
once that opens up, then we could offer more in that back section. But I think this is basically, in terms of design, what that area can really take right now. Otherwise,
I get
it's
it.
be overwhelmed. Does that make sense?
I'm not saying, I don't know that
I'm
I
not a
want my
cemetery
kids
designer,
that
but
close
this
to
is
me. Just kidding, kids.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was a consideration, this was something that we talked about in terms of having 4.
I'm sure.
We kind of, we've gone back and forth about it. I'm slightly ambivalent about it, to be honest.
You're what?
I'm slightly ambivalent about it myself. I'm not totally sure, 2 or 4, but, so I hear your point,
Okay, that's all.
yeah.
I love it. I love what you're doing there.
Okay. So do we want to vote on it, or do we want more changes? Love to get it passed through and just be done with it for now. We could always make changes
You
later.
want to make a motion?
Well, it has to be done in the form, I think, of a resolution.
Okay.
I think you ought to resolve whether it's 2 or 4 for the mausoleum before.
Well, I'm resolved to 2. If you're not resolved to 2, then I need to hear that, and I can go back to the committee and we can talk about it.
And this pertains strictly to the designed areas now.
That's right.
The back area doesn't include that
It
stuff
doesn't.
down the road.
That's right.
So there's room for expansion for that, so we could, it's up to, you guys want to expand it to 4, it's kind of, we still have the review with the committee and the board for anybody who wants to put these in, so it's not like it's a set rule, although there is a design
That's true.
made.
That is true.
So,
Yeah.
So you're saying if somebody wants to come in with 4, they would come to the cemetery committee, and then the cemetery committee would come
Well,
back to
Well,
us?
do you
We're
wanna-
not
do you wanna-
offering 4 in this section of the cemetery.
If we pass it as is, we wouldn't be
We're not
offering.
offering-
Right, but I think that's what we're deciding, whether, I've heard 2 board members say they would go with 4. I heard 1 board member say 2, and I haven't heard 2
Well, this is a
board
committee
members saying
recommendation,
anything.
and the committee spent a long time on this, and if you go and take the tour and look, there's a vision here that, certainly as a committee, we could say, no, we want 10, but where does it come from? It's very subjective. There's been a lot of thought into this, and I'm appreciative of it.
I also heard
I said
saying that
personally.
is ambivalent,
Well,
so,
I have personal
I-
ambivalence only with the point that Gina's making, that there are some families that will want 4. I feel I can understand that. But in terms of the vision, I agree with Elizabeth. There was a lot of thought put into it. In terms of the overall vision of the cemetery, I do think that it's what's
Yeah,
best for the Grassmere section.
I just
Well, and
think,
then
in terms of
children
design.
have their own families too, and so then that's a bigger
Yes.
question.
if you need a mausoleum for 20, it may not be the place for you.
Yeah,
Right.
even though I'm thinking 2 is restrictive, I
Right.
think it's a very good start, and I'm prepared to go ahead and support it.
Okay.
If you want to push it for a vote tonight.
that'd be great.
I'm okay with that, and
and I-
then we could look for expanded ones in the expanded
In
portion.
the back area, that's what I would really like to see, if if there was demand, but it just depends. We don't, there isn't like huge demand for people buying, they're very expensive, so.
What is the cost for a 2-person mausoleum? Is it 15,000? Is it 25,000?
I don't know, a lot, thousands,
100,000?
very
Or
possibly.
just for the lots, just for the 4?
The lots,
Where's the link?
well, you buy the plot is the same, and that's something moving forward that we probably might want to talk about, that's later on, increase the plot cost. I'd have to check with Cole Ruckley to see what the cost of the mausoleums are, I don't know.
Are they the only suppliers around here?
No, there are a few others. That gets to my next issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I believe our clerk said he could, create a resolution after we vote on it, so.
Great.
So we'll follow up with a resolution in the next meeting, is that?
No,
No,
we can
we'd
vote on
like
it
to vote on
tonight
it now.
and have a resolution created.
So the resolution would indicate total number in the currently designed new cemetery section, of all the sections, to be no more than 15, which would leave us with 7, and that the mausoleum size would not exceed 2 people at this time. Okay. And then we'll also include in the resolution the
Let me just speak to a copy.
the purchaser must meet, can you hear me?
Would you just have a resolution adopting this as presented?
Yeah. Sure. Explain that.
Okay.
You got it? Okay, so there's a motion? I'll motion that.
Second.
Second, okay.
Good.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So moved.
Nays?
Anything?
Gina, I'm going to follow you on this.
Okay, Joe. Joe, I'll let you be in mine, if you'll let me be in yours.
I'll have to talk to my wife about it, it's only 2.
Wow. That's
If we were going to do 4, we might share it with you.
Okay, moving right along. So this is the second part of fulfilling the proposed survey, the survey that's in progress, sorry.
Thank you.
So to complete the survey, we have to complete the monumentation. And so this is going to require us getting some more funds out of our capital account to complete this. This is actually
How
something that
much is
doesn't...
in the capital account?
47,000, I think.
So we've got it.
I'm asking.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
And when you
Bruce.
say
We have-
monumentation,
we
this
have
was the,
47,000?
I gotta look.
Hang on here. 45,263.
the monumentation was actually the delineation of each plot. Is that
The
correct?
monumentation, you can see it on here. You see where these little round circles are, the little dots?
Yes.
Set monuments.
The right, they're monuments that are set so that the caretaker can draw a line and be able to figure out where particular plots are so that it's all clear where everyone is.
Is this what Marie Welsh did for us?
No, Marie Welsh is doing the survey, but she needs the monumentation to complete the survey.
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at. There's a sort of a semicircle off to the
Yeah.
right. Is that the driveway, the little?
No, this is the entire natural
This
section.
is the wooded area where we were
This is the whole wooded area,
walking.
and the arc area there is actually a wooded area right now, so when we walk through there, you wouldn't have noticed it, but it will become what will be a common area.
Okay, I remember where you pointed
Right,
it
where there
out.
won't be graves.
Okay.
So, these monuments need to be set, and there was originally a larger, a much more expensive, much more elaborate plan that was going to include putting in a steel beam, and we, of course, decided that that wasn't going to happen, because also it's a green section, and we wanted to do it for less money and in a much more natural way, and so this is the simplest way to do it. This is actually similar to how it's set up in the conventional part of the cemetery. So anyway, we did get several different estimates, and they range between, on the high end,
Who prepared this for you, Suzanne?
Dave Queen.
Nice.
Each one of these little squares is a separate burial spot?
No. Oh, in the thing? Yes, you got it.
Each one of
That's right.
these little things.
Right.
How many are there?
Well, there are a total, I think, of something like 870, but probably not every single one of those will be a burial because it is a wooded area. So we're going to move along in sections and see what needs to be removed and what will stay. So,
And
yes.
the burial, are they digging down?
Yep.
And there's enough room in here to
Yeah.
get a machine in to
Yeah,
dig?
so right now, Gary has, the caretaker has cleared a section so that all of this monumentation can take place. If you go in there now, you'll notice quite a difference in this one sort of, in the one section where that needs to happen. So yeah, so Dave Queen has been extremely helpful because he knows exactly what needs to happen because he was a surveyor for years. And so yeah, so we're very lucky to have that. To have that
And
taken care of for
after
us.
the burial, is there perpetual care, or how does that get met?
No, the care will be very simple, actually. It will, the path will be brush hogged probably twice a year, and everything else will grow up wild. So, there won't be care in the way that there is in a conventional cemetery where it will be mowed around gravestones and that sort of thing. It will be really, basically wild.
So mowing is not required because the spots will be very close together?
What do you mean?
Well, won't grass grow up?
Yeah, it will. You got it.
Okay, so if I'm
It's
somebody,
really-
I know somebody's buried in here, how will I find which part they're buried in, or that's not relevant to a green
Well,
cemetery?
there will, in terms of markers will be allowed. That was on our original plan that was passed already, but markers will be allowed. There'll be flat stones, there'll be unpolished, flat, indigenous stone. And probably most people will choose a marker, although some people may not choose a marker, in which case you will not be able to find them unless they take you there. They say,
Okay.
this is the spot. Yeah,
So there's no perpetual care, there's just this mowing around this
that's it.
buffer?
Pretty much. There probably will need to be, as we're moving along, some work in terms of removing trees and other kinds of down material. But Gary will be able to take care of most of this, as he's already done. And in fact, he'll be the one that will put in all of these monuments. So we don't have to hire somebody else to do that. We just have to pay for the supplies to get it completed. And he's fully aware that he needs to take care of this. So anyway, on the high end, it's $5,900 for the monuments, and on the low end, it's 42 something. 4450, thank you. And we have 4 different estimates.
Do you have a preference of,
I guess we would like to go local. I mean, these are all relatively local, but I don't have a personal preference.
Well,
Do you-
who is the
do you have a-
lowest local?
I probably shouldn't say.
well, we can't vote on it unless we know.
Why not go with the lowest?
What should I say?
Well,
don't
you
wanna
as the
give people
committee,
away.
do you
Why
have a
don't we
preference?
Why don't we vote to allow, is the committee going to decide? It's out of your capital fund, or?
They're all very close, it sounds to me.
What is the maximum, 59?
The maximum was 59, the lowest was 44.50,
Is it
Oh, you got one at 45, and you got one at 44.20.
and one at 59. There's two other ones.
What? This
There are
is
4 of
15.
them.
Oh, it looks like two at 59. Total cost for disposal, each post delivered, well, this looks like more, but well, the thing is, if we have a policy of competitive bidding, and we do have a policy, why don't we follow that policy to go with the lowest responsible bidder? I don't understand why we're
You know, I agree.
deviating from that.
I agree. My only concern is that the product might not be up to the expectation at lower bids. I want to make sure Dave Queen's kind of the expert with it in the
Can you
committee.
want to pass these?
I want to make sure that
That's
the
a good point,
product is
yeah.
what they
Well,
expect.
you got to go look at it, and
I would have it approved at no more than 59,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed,
Okay.
and then let the committee, I mean, these guys have been involved in a long time and a lot of process. Let them decide what product they want to get out of this bid, if that's.
Yeah, I mean,
no
I would
problem.
feel the most comfortable
What do you
having
think?
Dave decide, to be honest, just because he seems to know the most.
You
But
know, what is a concern about a hole in it that needs to be there for surveying and so on?
they all understand that though, right?
It's all in the same, okay, they all have that? Okay.
I'm all for making that motion to not to exceed 59, and you guys,
I was thinking along those lines also, because I got the multiple various memorial monumental services, and they all are relatively local, some are more local, but I thought, wasn't it also a policy, if you can do something with certain wood, it doesn't necessarily mean the lowest bid,
I'm not aware of that kind of policy.
yeah, I'm not either.
That's
but
not our policy.
That is a
And
goal.
Yeah, I think you ought to come back, if you're not going to use the lowest, to explain to us why.
Well, and I
You know,
also
and if
think
it-
go to them and say, we want to use you. Can you match this? And I've had very good results with that in many different areas.
I'm fine with that.
Negotiating with the town, going to them and saying, look, we really want you, you've got to come closer to
Sure.
this bid if you want it. Okay.
That's okay with me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Are we going to make a motion not to exceed?
Yeah, I did, I think.
Well, wait a minute, I think we're saying two different things. I'm saying you should come back before we pass anything as to how much it's going to cost and explain why you're not going to go with the lowest. And I would not do shall not exceed
When's your next
the
meeting?
higher number
2
because.
weeks.
I'm fine with going a motion not to exceed, so.
I am as well, because I'm sure you'll go talk to them. I'm sure they'll come down.
I will. I mean,
Yeah.
I would obviously prefer to have more money left in our capital account.
You've been
Well, we can
very.
say not to exceed 5,000. We can say that, Joe.
Say any number, but it would seem to me we shouldn't be making exceptions
Well, I
from our
believe-
policy unless there's a reason, and you can wait 2 weeks and tell us why we should make the exception.
I agree with Joe.
Hey, you're not going to be putting them in the next 2 weeks anyway, right?
No, we won't be.
Okay.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Product that should be, I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that
have
it is.
Dave weigh in.
Yeah. Make sure it includes, transportation of the
But
product.
that's the only issue, right? For 2 weeks, that's it? Come back?
It's got to include delivery too.
It does. It includes, they all include
All right.
delivery. Yeah.
Because
Are there any
we're gonna
guarantees
do
that
it
come with
in-house.
this as to how long the marker lasts, or any
They're
guarantees?
granite.
What?
They're granite.
in fact, you can't really get it now because the floor is exposed plus the winter time.
I'm going to order some granite markers for my property.
Right. That's right. Okay?
All right, good.
Good.
So you okay with that? 20
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, because it's true, they can't do anything yet anyway. As long as we get it passed in 2 weeks, it's great.
Thank you, Suzanne. Tom, relatedly on that, am I the liaison now for the cemetery? Did you assign me that in the
Actually,
new
I
year?
was. I thought you wanted something to do, so we kind of did it together. But if you don't need to do it, you don't have to. But I'm still doing it. If you want to share it, it's fine.
That's good.
All right.
Okay.
We have been meeting at the office, at the cemetery office. Okay.
Okay.
Are these for us, or?
Maybe we should get that back to them.
Suzanne, are these our copies? Do you need these, the
I
bids?
need those. I need those, yes. But I can get you copies.
No, thanks.
So Suzanne, just start including me on for the meetings,
Sure.
so I'll know when they are.
So one last thing, sorry. Trees. Do you want to present this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here representing the Rhinebeck Village Tree Commission. We are a...
Fantastic,
oh,
by the
thank
way.
you. How's your tree going?
Fabulous.
Are you watering it
I
every
did
day?
water it.
Good.
Not over,
We are
but
an official tree city. I have my official hat here.
love that.
So we are planning on doing our spring planting April 20th. Everybody remember that? You can come and help us. And we want to plant in the cemetery, so that's why I'm here. And I have a little map here of where we would like to plant in the cemetery. It's along Route 9, where that little marking is. And I believe we need permission from the town board to do this.
Do you need this?
This little line right here.
Yeah, that little line, that's along Route 9. And this would go above the wall.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, where is Route 9?
Like, where's
This
the,
is Route 9 right here.
Oh, okay.
and the
this
little
is-
office, Gary's office, show Joe where that is.
It's right there in the
It's
corner.
right there.
Yeah, right in the corner.
What is this?
That's the woods.
April
So
20th is a
This would be
Saturday.
between 9 and Gary's house? Gary's
Yeah,
house
we
would be
would want to
somewhere.
plant all along the wall, along this area down here to the entranceway on the northern end.
How many trees do you think?
Well, that's up
Howie?
to, I don't know if Meg told you
Yes.
today.
Yeah, so we sort of just estimated today. Gary gave us a sense that there may be as much as 300 feet where we can plant. There's one section up toward the caretaker's house. It's too narrow probably to plant, but as we get further down, there is room. She thought if there was 200 feet, then we could plant 7 trees. If there was 300 feet, we could plant 10. And then there might be an additional few flowering trees around the caretaker house. But that's the plan. I think they're going to be,
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But whatever. She picks. Meg is the expert, Meg Crawford.
What's the setback?
There was some concern about the stone wall, that they might interfere with the stone wall. She said that that absolutely would not happen, that the roots will grow away from the wall. Even if we took the wall apart, which we will need to do at some future point if we ever get that $200,000 to fix the stone wall, even then it would be fine.
But how far back are they?
From the wall?
Yeah.
We haven't determined that yet.
I think it's between 9 and 20 feet as you're moving down, that much space for the trees to be planted.
How close will they be to Gary's house?
Like I said, they won't be that close to his house because the one narrow section won't fit trees there. But there may be, she was suggesting perhaps planting 2 trees around his house, maybe some flowering trees there's no shade around, it would really cool down the building.
See, this the town.
And your committee is in favor of this, or not in favor of it, or
Yeah,
you're
so
still
far the
reviewing
committee's in
it?
favor. The only concerns the committee had, and you were there, Tom, right, was about the wall?
Yeah.
And about the space between the wall and the graves. But we seem to have clarified that today with Gary, so I think it should be fine.
And you need permission from us, Howie?
Well, it's town.
Town-owned land in the
property.
village.
Right.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
So we're just trying to cover all of our spots here before we do it.
And you're not going to charge for this?
No, we're not going to charge.
No.
So I don't know if you can make the decision tonight. But the decision might not have to be made tonight. If you can make it in 2 weeks, that would be great.
Because it's going to be done in April, right?
Yeah, but we have to kind of
Yeah,
start ordering the trees.
market.
Why wouldn't we be able to decide? It seems like a nice thing.
I have no
It's-
problem with it.
Okay,
You guys did a spectacular job.
thank you.
Did you get a tree in front of your house?
I did.
What did you get?
Someone came and knocked on my door and said, "You're eligible for a tree." I said, "All right."
What house?
Cecily Frazier. came.
chairwoman.
Yeah, it was amazing. I got a
lives in the village.
katsura.
By my house.
Yes,
They gave you a tree in front of your house?
yes.
I need a tree.
I fed them, though. I
Okay,
fed
now.
them, but
Howie, how big are the trees? How,
it was
When we plant
about
them,
5
when we first
feet.
plant them, yeah, about 5 feet.
no, they're just like a couple.
Yeah, they're bare root trees, they don't even have roots, so a
Fantastic.
person can carry them by themselves.
Do you get them from Cornell or?
No, we get them from a nursery called Schechtel's in upstate New York.
They're very cold when they arrive.
They're cold?
And when we planted them in the cemetery the last time, the tractor trailer was freezing.
Oh. Okay.
I'm for it. I'll make a
So,
motion to approve.
Motion and second to approve. Is there a number you said?
7 to 10.
7 to 10 trees, you said, right?
Plus a couple around the house.
Yeah. I'll come help this time, Howie.
Good. Bring your shovels.
Will.
April 20th.
So,
I got it on the calendar.
Second.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we at now? Is that it for cemetery? That's it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Moving along. Oh, incredible. All right, so, our next item is a liaison report, No Dutchess Alliance.
I just attended this breakfast on Thursday for the Northern Duchess Alliance to publicize their report that they've worked on since September. And it's extremely valuable. I made a couple of extra copies, and there's copies in our town hall office for anyone that wants to see them. There's also copies of it on the Northern Duchess Alliance website, as well as the extended 40-page version that they did as well. And the University of SUNY New Paltz was in charge of, with doing the survey. Their, what's that called?
Credo.
Yeah, Credo, but they also have, anyway, they had 3 main points that they looked at. It was all about shared services, which is extremely important and becoming even more important now. And they looked at 3 different things: assessment for taxes, the highway and transportation, and healthcare. And they found
Health insurance.
health insurance, yeah, health insurance and costs for that. All areas in which there are many, many different ways that towns and villages can work together to save money. The most important being the health insurance. Tompkins County, as Joel has been haranguing us for years about, has done it very successfully, saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for each community within that county. So that's something that we need to follow up on. It was very embarrassing for me as a town board member that the town of Rhinebeck was not included in this survey, because apparently their repeated requests for information were not responded to. So I spoke to the professor that was in charge of the study, and I asked if it was too late to get the data to him, and I was willing to take that on and to get the information from our assessor's office, the highway department, as well as our bookkeeper, and he said, unfortunately, the study was closed and we couldn't be included in it. The village of Rhinebeck is included in it, which is good, but we are not as the town. But I spoke with his assistant after, and he said that if I could get the information to him, he would try to drop it in such a way that we could get some value out of comparison of the numbers. So I'm following up with him on that and working on that. But it's very, very interesting, and I think it really shows that sharing of services and consolidation of services is something that we have to take a very serious look at and consider in the next year or two.
Thank you. Any further liaison reports? Great, on for business.
I do have one, Panda, they're having a meeting soon, but we're in need of a Town of Rhinebeck resident to be a liaison to our Public Access Northern Duchess Alliance. So if anybody would like to step forward and volunteer, you can contact me or Bill Nieves, who's the president of Panda. We need a Rhinebeck resident volunteer.
have any people who could,
I'm going to
Tap
shake
into?
the trees, yeah,
Okay.
I will.
That guy right there might be interested,
yeah,
in the green shirt.
You need one for the village too?
oh, yeah?
Yeah, apparently, and
Oh, you mentioned Northern Duchess. You said that it's a,
public access Northern Duchess, it's Tivoli,
I'm sorry, I
Red
thought,
Hook.
I'm kind of mixing it up with this, so it's not, it's for the town, not for.
PANDA, the acronym of PANDA is
I
public
know,
access,
I
yeah.
know,
so,
all right, I
no,
thought you said Alliance, all right, never mind, go ahead.
It's PANDA.
PANDA.
Yeah, since I'm here in the town of Rhinebeck, I'm trying to get someone for the town of Rhinebeck. It's this thing with, a lot of people are having trouble getting volunteers. And, PANDA's chugging along nicely.
Right,
It's
right.
really well-run. But Bill Nieves, who's a town of Rhinebeck resident and is the president of it, has asked for our help, my help in getting someone to step forward and
Yeah,
help
we're-
work on policy.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Any further? Liaison reports. Okay. Moving on for business items, resolution approving the BAS software contract. That's your tab 4, the BAS software. It's the clerk's software, basically.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Bruce, this is the one that you questioned last time, and come to find out, it is just the town clerk software.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Item 2 is a resolution approving abstract 2, vouchers VAP 169 through VAP 181 for $27,145.79.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I had one question. I think in this batch, the, I'm sorry, $2,000 that we pay for the parade, Memorial Day Parade, are we just paying now for the parade last year?
They're putting in the request for it, right? We wanted a written request from them, and we're finally catching up with that.
Yeah, it
so,
seems a little
yeah, it was
late for
budgeted
everybody, yeah.
so-
Okay, just wanted to, bring that to,
I would also, I was wondering about our phone system. How, do we have a policy about what we do with cell phones that are not being used or are only used seasonally for rec?
Let me
Are they
just
used?
speak to this. Shelley, our bookkeeper, has requested that we vote on or give her guidance on our building code enforcement officer, but we're supposed to be calling him something else, our
Building inspector.
building inspector two's cell phone. He prefers to use his own cell phone, so can she have permission to cancel that? Which made me say, do we want to have some kind of policy anyway, that we have a rec phone here that we're paying for 12 months out of the year? I mean, are we aware of this? I think we should discuss Edmatic tonight, and moving forward, I think we should look at cell phone policies and certainly I have to talk to a couple of people before I say anything about it. For instance, if someone has a town cell phone and it's a personal cell phone, should we be paying for the whole thing? Or should 5 of them, let's talk about our building inspector two's cell phone. He prefers to use his own. So can we cancel that?
Certainly, it seems like we should cancel if a phone isn't being used. That seems to be a no-brainer. I do think that cell phone usage should be looked into, rated, certainly the payment things we could do if a phone, we can just review the bill, and if the phone's being used for 20%, that's what they do for tax purposes, right?
Our current monthly charge is $247.38. Shelley has asked that we make some kind of decision regarding the building department's phone.
That's for 5 phones, right?
Yes, 5 phone, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 5 phones. $33.92 a month. He prefers to use his own phone.
Yeah, but there was a question about, for recreation, having the phone at the pool for the summer programs, and then also for the
I
rec
think it's
director.
too soon to talk about that. I think we need more information, you know.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
sure.
only
Well,
Edmatic.
On the cell phone, the rec cell phone, she should have collected that when the person, when their term ended at the end of September.
Right.
So that should have been turned off then.
I don't know
I
where it
agree.
is, or if it, I think we have some work to do before we discuss it. I
Okay.
think we can discuss at our building inspector's phone.
I understand what, he doesn't use a cell phone.
He doesn't want to, he wants to use his own phone.
Okay, so I agree with Gina, it's a no-brainer. We should authorize her to cancel that contract.
Motion, second?
I
No.
second the motion you're making.
Are phone records foilable? Does anyone know?
I thought
John's
so.
pointing out that we have a motion in front of us to approve the vouchers.
Well, I brought it up for discussion.
Well, we have an open motion already, so,
All in favor, aye for the vouchers.
Aye.
second. Oh, aye.
What are we eyeing about?
The motion to approve the vouchers.
Yes.
Which includes
Aye.
the
It's
payment of the cell phones. Okay,
It's from
fine.
2 months ago.
Yeah, this one you
I
gotta
understand,
pay.
yeah, I understand.
Then we can make a new motion to cancel the building department phone.
Motion and second.
Motion? Second?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
What are we on?
Canceling building department cell
phone.
phone.
The bookkeeper has requested that we,
Is this the abstract we're voting on?
We already
we did already.
voted that.
So we're voting on the canceling the cell phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question.
We'll call
And
this
the
2A.
question is, are phone records foilable?
If we-
If they're foilable and we're using somebody else's cell phone, then we may have a problem. So that's the only reason I'm asking. You know, Dad?
I would think that any public transaction on an employee is flowable.
No matter,
Not being an attorney.
Yeah.
we all use our cell phones, so ours would be foilable as well. It's-
And I'm fine with mine, but I'm not sure that, when you do that, you want to make sure the employee,
They know their records are flowable.
Yeah.
Maybe you get your attorney to sign a disclosure agreement saying, I agree to use my private phone, but that phone is foilable for purposes.
Yeah.
Probably should.
Okay.
Where are we on this? Are we voting on this? Are we going to hold it for 2 weeks to tell Ed Maddox that,
Our building inspector has informed our bookkeeper one more time that he does not use the phone, he's using his own phone. She's requested that we cancel it.
I think we
You guys
voted to
wanna wait?
cancel
We'll
it.
wait.
But I like the idea about having him sign a waiver, a release
So you
that,
gotta go through your legal,
yeah,
with consultation.
which
I'm
we'll
going to tell
do.
you, then we need to address every single elected official and everybody, because there's no policy in place,
well,
so.
the same goes for your email sites, too. You're using personal
Mhm.
emails, they're foilable, just like the phone would be
Yeah.
foilable, whether it's
But-
personal or not.
but it's different for employees than elected officials.
Right.
Elected officials basically know that, employees
Might not.
might not. And so that's the distinction we're trying to make.
That's good, that's a good point, Bruce.
Are we voting on it, or?
I'm happy voting on it and
Okay.
dealing with the foilable issue as a separate issue.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 3 is a resolution approving abstract 2 vouchers VAP 169 through 181, 26,733.29.
Motion. Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 4 is a resolution approving the preliminary capital project abstracts for $656,000. Motion second.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It's so moved.
Get one eye.
Aye.
Aye.
Item 5 is a resolution approving budget transfers and amendments as seen on your tab number 8.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 6 is requesting the New York State Public Service Commission to audit 2012 franchise fees received.
Motion.
Tab 9.
Second. I'm the one that brought this up, and I was confused by the accounting process, but then I went back after we discussed it today, and I looked, and while the number keeps going up, it's different. It was on the revenue reports in 2010, it was $110,000, but the aud was $55,000. So that's where I was getting confused, the way it's being recorded and reported. However, it's, every time we've done this in the past, we've gotten more money because they found, and Joe's had some experience with the village, I guess, talking to the village, that they paid you paid somebody, I believe, Howie, to go and get it. This is free from the Public Service Commission. And there's issues because our contract is for the cable lines, basically, and the modems, the phone, things like that. The cable companies are contesting that that's not in the agreement anymore. They don't have to pay for it, and so there's some wiggling going on. I still think we should get an audit every once in a while, especially since it's free. We're asking John to send a letter to Public Service Commission and ask for one.
Well, I'm the Panda liaison. I've spoken to Bill Nieves about this. It's a little bit more complicated, and we can certainly do it, and there's further steps we can take. Have you spoken to Bill about it and gotten his input, or anyone from Panda?
As far as what they wanted to do, hiring the consultant to get equipment?
No,
If it,
not getting the equipment, just, auditing this and why the fees fluctuate and where we are.
no, I haven't, because 3 years ago, when we went through that, they wanted to hire somebody to go and do it.
This is a free audit. We can request it.
Right, so, I don't know, I'm
I just
missing
feel-
the point.
Well, I'm dealing with Panda, and I would have appreciated a heads up. This is
well-
coming out of a little left field.
I thought I sent you this ahead of time.
I asked the PUC to do an audit
This has nothing
about a
to do with
year and a
that.
half ago, and,
Is that the Public Utilities Commission?
yeah,
Panda.
and didn't get anywhere, but it's certainly worthwhile
Fee-
trying again. So, I don't see any downside in it. It's free.
Yeah, I don't see any downside in it either, but there's a disconnect here. Public access television
Is paid for.
is
On
paid
hand.
for by the town. The fees that we get come in, don't go to Panda. The fees that we get come in and go to whatever we want to do with them. They go to part town fund and they go to the highway. The equipment that's in the contract with Time Warner Cable is the part, from my experience, that Panda's interested in. But the funding stream is not related to Panda at all. It's their contract with us for what Fred's doing back there.
And providing the public access service and,
Well,
They pay us
It's
for allowing them to put the wires on the poles
Yeah.
running through the town,
Right,
and
so let's-
the payment is based on the number of subscribers they have and the number of channels they carry. And,
you're talking about the contract that we have with Time Warner.
Yes.
And the contract rolls over every year. If we don't renegotiate it, we can certainly request an audit. There was a motion several years back to hire a firm that specializes in this, and they would take part of the money that they recover.
right, what the village did is they hired somebody who got 50%, or is supposed to get 50% of what they actually recover. I don't know if the village ever got any money out of it or not.
That's grants.
Yeah.
so it's free, it's a letter.
Yeah, there's no downside. So have we approved it?
Motion and second to approve?
I think we have a
Oh, yeah, all in
motion.
favor, aye.
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 Aye, opposed, so moved. Item 7 is a resolution relating to the declaration of terms, covenants, agreements, conditions restricting restrictions in workforce housing agreement with Rhinebeck Gardens Group LLC.
Look, let me,
Motion?
Second.
Okay,
At the last meeting, I talked about, and a representative from the committee was here, we talked about the problem of getting financing for workforce housing. And the developer of the gardens is trying to pre-clear with Fannie Mae financing for the units to be built at the gardens. And there was a fear at that point that Fannie Mae would not approve financing for workforce housing unless we waive the restrictions on the use of the units in the event of foreclosure. We said at that point we were still trying to reach Fannie Mae to get an official ruling as to whether or not we had to waive as a condition of getting Fannie Mae financing. So we passed the resolution authorizing a waiver if necessary. We now have found out from Fannie Mae that we do not have to waive. Or we think we don't have to waive. Their official policy is you don't have to waive. They still haven't approved the purchase of the units with their financing, but so conceivably they could come back and ask for a waiver, but so far they haven't, and we think the application is proceeding.
That's just for Fannie Mae,
Just for Fannie Mae.
not for Freddie Mac?
For Freddie Mac, we know we have to waive. And for FHA, we know we have to waive.
Okay.
But at this point, the developer is not applying to FHA and not applying to Freddie Mac. But I want to, well, we're up to the point where we may have possibly buyers for a couple of units, and we may have financing for a couple of...
Workforce housing buyers?
Yes.
That's great.
We may. We'll see, but we're hopeful. So we're now talking about marking up deeds and declarations with these restrictions running in perpetuity. I think, John, and I don't see it attached here, is the actual declaration, which I thought we had sent you on late Friday, but I'm asking the board to vote on allowing Tom to sign the declaration. What the declaration will say is that the board has the power to change any of the restrictions in the workforce housing program on a going forward basis. So that,
including giving up the in perpetuity workforce housing status on a unit.
well, it's more that we can add things in the future if we want to, and it would only apply to purchasers after changes are made.
I thought that this was good news for us because I thought that the status was protected.
For Fannie Mae, yes.
And this is the only thing that we're voting on.
What we're voting on is the changes in the deed, which would be helpful if were attached.
Can we table this?
Problem is, we may have to act within the next couple of weeks
Well, but-
if we do have a buyer.
But there's nothing here to vote on.
Unfortunately, I don't know what to say, John. We sent it, or at least my secretary says she sent it on Friday. That's why I had asked you about it. You sure you... Well, we're going to go into executive session at some point, maybe we can come back to this, and maybe you can look for it on
What you were looking for
your
today, or
computer.
Joan was looking for?
So let's table this and come back to it.
All right. Excuse me.
But Elizabeth, these would give us more powers, not taking it away, and add more restrictions.
That's just what I wanted to clarify. I understand the conundrum with the financing and the deed restrictions for in perpetuity status, workforce housing status. It's a concern for me, I'm sure for all of you guys, so I just,
Want to hold it over?
Yeah, well, let's hold it and come back to it after the executive session, and maybe we can find...
Did you send it just to John or to the rest of the board?
It was sent to John.
Okay.
yeah, I didn't get anything.
We'll hold it over until after executive session.
Yep.
All right, so items for discussion is a need for LWRP workshop concerning notification procedures, consistency for protocols for the CAB, Code Enforcement Officer, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and liaisons.
Okay, this is a follow-on, just another piece of work. Last year, when Gina set up the wetlands workshop, this was an action that was, we said we would take at that time, and so we're just following through on it. What we want to do is, and it comes from the CAB, we just want to make sure that we're tight on how we're getting notified from the agencies outside of the town and the village. I guess there's some problems with where the different jurisdictions are, and so what we'd like to do is get everybody together, all the key players together, and make sure they've got everything in sync. Is that, so, and I was going to ask John if he would do the calendaring for people. Sorry.
Who's going to run it?
It'll be a panel. It'll be, I guess, each of the people, right? Each of the heads of the boards.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed last year, the only other person to bring in would be John Lyons. I'm not sure whether he was doing it pro bono or not, but...
He was very kind to do it pro bono before, but I can't speak for him this year.
He's been giving us an awful lot of time.
Yeah.
It would be, the CAB, the Planning Board, Zoning Board, Code Enforcement Officer. We try to get somebody from the state, maybe somebody from DEC, and just synchronize the filings, applications, how we get notification from those agencies so we can do everything in a timely manner. They're very time sensitive, these documents.
How is this different from what we did last year, Jeff?
We didn't have a LWRP workshop.
We said we were going to, that was a wetlands workshop.
Yeah, but a lot of the same things apply. In this case, it seems to me.
No, the LWRP is completely different from the wetlands law.
No, I know that that's different, but the interdepartmental communication and the public notification and the filing of permits and all of that is very similar.
Yeah, within the town, we're doing a great job. This is more about Department of State, DEC, and...
Ag and farm, ag and market.
Yeah, because they don't necessarily communicate, we don't have the mechanism set up, and that we communicate with them on a regular basis. So sometimes we hear about things, sometimes we don't. So it's setting up a policy on how we do that.
Do you want to give us a list of people, or give it to John, poor John, of who you think should be there? Bruce, anyone else that you think as well?
I'm being the liaison here,
Okay.
so.
How about the RDA?
Pardon me?
Staying on this thing? You done with it?
I don't know, the CAB is, there's a lot to learn, so.
As a real estate agent, I found that forum we had very informative.
Yeah.
For me to even be able to tell potential buyers what they're in for and what they can and can't do and need to apply for. And it used to be that you could just say, oh, sure, you can do it, but it's different.
Great. Item 2 for discussion.
The Open RDA software assessment. Last year, like December, I called up RDA and asked them for an inventory of what we had installed, and they sent it to us. And the reason was because I wanted to know, we were trying to figure out, are we leveraging technology properly and getting the most out of it? So they sent us a list, and what we pay for each year, what the training is with it, and all the other things that they offer. The one that I was particularly interested in was the online purchase orders, because when I read it on the website, it says that it updates, it automatically encumbers, and when you fill it out or finish it, it takes the encumbrance away, so every day, at the end of the day, you know how much you have committed for expenses. Right? And this seemed like a huge workload help for Shelley and Kim. And then there were some other ones, like we talked about budget and some other things in there. So I got the prices for that. There's also a lot of stuff with building permits that I think John was running into, and some of those things in there. I don't know whether these things are worth anything or not, but I put it all in a table and asked Shelley and John just to say what they thought, whether we should use these or not. And the ones that we do have, I think we really need to understand why we're not using them, some of them, because we've paid for them. Like the online purchase order, the training for it takes a day. It's good for a year. We bought that 3 years ago. We've never turned it on, but they'll honor the training, that kind of thing.
Who would take that training, Bruce?
It'd be anyone who's doing purchase orders.
You know,
And they spread it out. It doesn't have to be all done in one day. It's all online. Sorry.
I was just going to say, we have $17,500 that we allowed for additional help in that office. We were batting around things, one was, are we hiring a budget officer? Are we hiring someone for purchases, is this part of that big discussion? I mean, who does get the training? What do we do?
And if we're going to hire a backup person or a support person, shouldn't we be doing that, and that person should be the one to take that training?
Well, I think department heads might need this training. It's
Yeah,
people-
I think you're right.
it's not-
Shelley?
yeah. Not, well.
No, the online.
like, Bobby go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's anybody who uses a purchase order.
So this speaks to the needing to get the units up and running in our office and there. Everybody, forget about the manual filling out of purchase orders, fill it out in the software and,
Right,
okay.
right. And a couple other towns use that, and Dodd's probably familiar with it too. And they get their numbers like that.
For the training, is it for a one-time charge for one person, or can
No, it's
multiple
as many
people?
as you want.
Oh, as many as you want.
Yeah. So that's what that was. So the matrix was there. I believe I sent that to all of you.
Yeah, yep.
The matrix is there it's the first page.
It was an Excel sheet, right?
No, I think it was Word. Do you think you can use it? Do we use it now? And these other ones, do you think you could use it? Taking a bottoms-up approach. And then I think that the next step for us is, after the two offices have weighed in, then to have that discussion.
Bruce, what does RDA stand for?
I don't know.
Dodd, do you know?
That's the name of their company, it's in the.
Oh, it's just a,
It's just a letter.
okay.
of their company name.
Got it.
Yeah. They're in Atlanta. I've been talking to the COO, so I thought he was a bird, but never mind.
A bird?
COO, never mind.
Cool.
So that's the update on that.
Okay.
But public comment?
Sure.
Crane Village resident, since you brought it up, you mentioned looking at some of their other modules, one of which was perhaps building department. I guess this is really more of a question. my firm, or my ex-firm, I've sold it, still work there part-time, has a proposal in front of the board for have an integrated building planning zoning solution, which I would suspect, of course, I'm a little biased, is far superior to anything that a financial company would offer for automating that part of the town activity. Is there any progress on where your decision-making is on looking at building and planning and zoning? Because your tools there are really quite outdated.
Unfortunately, a bilateral knee replacement has interfered with the review of those proposals. I know we have that proposal, and I know we have another proposal, and I think Gina has given those out to some people for advice.
Okay.
And I will focus on it when I come
Oh,
back
okay.
in
You know, let me
March.
just-
So we haven't forgotten about
Okay.
it.
Let me
And
just mention that
and-
there's county money available, and the deadline for applying is,
March 13th or March 15th?
no, that's the state.
I thought you were talking about June.
Well, that's when hopefully the money will come out. I'm working now with the clerk's office and the bookkeeping office to workshop the RFPs that I did for tech, to come up with a recommendation and build in so that whoever we award it to really helps us write to get grants for that. I think that there's money in the county for us, probably about $50,000, which could go a long way to cover both pieces. So we can't let this go on too much longer, is what I'm saying. If we want
No,
to
it hasn't been forgotten about.
Right.
Our cost is way below 50,000. So.
Well, there's also the RFP tech initiative for the
Right.
town hall, which
So we're
includes
thinking
new
we can
computers,
fold that in.
networking, wireless routers,
Dave's
the mail
been,
server, yeah.
Dave sits next to me, he's been keeping me up to date. Just one other quick note, I did Google foil relative to phones, and if you Google that topic, you'll come up with a Robert Freeman response. I just found one quickly that says that at least text messages are foilable. And there was a long discussion about some board official in some town texting while in a meeting, and is that foilable? And there was a long discussion about why is he texting instead of listening to the public, but in any case, at least some portion of the phone records, at least the text messages, and I'm guessing under certain circumstances who you called might be foilable too.
Thank you, Dodd. I did attend a seminar about grants for shared services from the state, and it's extremely complex, but it looks like if we have a dual approach with the village, that we have a shot at applying for at least half a dozen different grants, but it's going to be a long, arduous process, as Joe knows, having gone through the grant process, but I'm following up on that.
This is the webinar? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was on that too.
Were you?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of administrative.
It was a little bit, but he answered, I sent a bunch of questions that he didn't answer, but he sent me answers to all of them.
Okay,
Which
good.
was very helpful.
I'm paying about $20 an hour for childcare, so if we can keep moving, it'd be great. And I-
Gee, I could take that job.
I-
That's good pay, Tom. You must be
okay,
getting a
the
lot of
RDA
money.
Software, we done with that?
Yeah.
Update on the landfill beaver situation,
Okay, let's see, the
respectfully.
article in the Observer got some public reaction, and one of them was an engineer from Crawford who called Joe. Joe called, or referred him
Is
to
this
me.
the newest article or the older article?
It's the one, the no action article.
The recent one.
I guess, I don't know. And so what he suggested was that we use pond leveler. And pond leveler is basically a 10-inch pipe, 10 feet long with holes drilled in it and a cage wrapped around it, and then an 8-inch pipe extension running out. This goes through the beaver dam, and it keeps the water level down. So the beaver gets frustrated and moves away. So that's the suggestion. And he said they used it in Tivoli. So I said, well, how much is it going to cost? And he says, well, I got to talk to my boss. So we haven't gotten that part done. I also told Chazen, since they were here the last time, about it. They didn't know about it. And I said, we might have to go out for bids or something on this, so you might want to start looking at it. And then I asked Mr. Mannix I called DEC, by the way. And DEC said, we'll probably need permits to do this because we're disturbing the dam. But it keeps, there's advantages and disadvantages to it, but it seems ideal for ours because it's a spring, it works with springs or stream-fed ponds, it works with places, wetlands, ponds, whatever. Don't whack me for the terms. And it works for places where the beaver population has not been well established, so ours isn't. But it keeps it wet there, so it becomes a little wetland and handles the leachate or whatever that we see as an advantage. So this is kind of a win-win. It's inexpensive.
Did you talk to Tivoli to see how it worked for them?
I called up and the guy that I was supposed to talk to didn't get back to me. So, and I've got other things.
Yeah.
But so I've got a DC call, I've got an engineering call, and I've got the Tivoli call coming back in. It's not expensive, it's easy to do, we just have to figure out the permits. Once we get that, I'll come back to the board and recommend that we do this probably, and I'll give you a price estimate. So that's kind of the update on that.
Do you happen to know, since you're our beaver expert now, are they active all winter? Do they hibernate? Do we want to get them disrupted before the spring? When do they hatch? All of that?
Well, I don't know. What I do know is I found out that we need to do this fairly soon if we're going to use any equipment while the ground is still kind of frozen. We may not need to use equipment. And we have until April, basically, to do anything.
Okay.
April 1st.
So, yeah, then it gets...
The whole ruckus thing, I'm going to bring it up, I'm going to say it. The DEC will give us permission to trap the beavers, to kill them. But that has to be done by April 1st. Is that something, we want to look at this first, or pond leveler?
I think the pond leveler is probably a better approach because, like we've said before, if we trap the ones that are there now, the next generation's going to come along and move in.
We need an aggressive program of...
This is something, yeah, this will stay. The only problem with this is every once in a while you got to clean out the traps around it, the wires.
Get the brush and stuff off.
Probably need two permits, the wetland permit and wildlife permit.
Yeah, and there was another one because we might have to deal with the Corps of Engineers because where it is. And so there's two or three that I know what they are. I didn't bring them, well, I wrote them down. So that's that. Anything else on that one? No, all right.
Item 4?
The next one is we used, at the transfer station, we used to have a place where out front people could drop off stuff.
Free to a good home?
Yeah, free to a good home. They could drop off the good stuff and it would stay there and people would take it away. That's kind of gone away and some of us were talking about it. We think we could do it with a volunteer going out on a Saturday for an hour, and if it was a regular time to just sort the stuff as it comes in. It would go into the middle bay and stay there, and then people could go in anytime they want and pick through it. Stuff that was left for too long would have to be disposed of. And Joan is checking on her own initiative to see if we can do that through the Salvation Army, because they have the bins in there anyway. I talked to Welsh or Royal, whoever's, they have no problem with it. They just don't want to be responsible for anything that's left there. So they're fine with that. So after we find out about the Salvation Army or some other charity to get rid of stuff, we'll probably start putting a little plan together and come back to the board with that.
That sounds great, Bruce. because I both dropped things there and taken things home from there before. It was really a nice little thing. Has there been any movement on investigating whether they'll open up another day or not?
I got great pushback when I went back to them the last time, which was in December. So, I don't know. This weekend was bad. They closed every single transfer station that they operate. I think there were 9 that I saw.
Because of the snow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And, of course, the towns that run them, there's only a couple left, but they closed too.
They operate 9 in,
That's the ones I could find so far, yeah. It's kind of interesting because like the town of Amenia is open 3 days a week. But their site, they operate out of the Welsh facility, Welsh-owned facility in Amenia. And so it's really there's nothing there for the town. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, we have to figure out some more things with that, but it seems to be going okay. We're still not completely, it's not smooth running completely yet, so.
He's very pleasant, I have to say.
Oh, Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very pleasant. I wish we had more hours.
Yeah, you can, for this topic? For this topic, you mean? Yeah, you just have to give your name at the mic so that the camera can.
My name is Bob Smith. I'm a member I'm a resident of the town, and I make great use of both the transfer station and the landfill. And I think it's great that we're doing something about the beavers. I think it's overdue. I think the town spent a lot of money putting in, basically elevating a roadway back there just so it flooded on both sides of the elevated roadway. So I'm glad to hear that. And I'm disappointed to find out that the carting company makes the decision about whether our transfer station is open or not. I'd like to believe that we would make that decision. They are our subcontractors, we're not theirs. I was disappointed to find it closed. I went up there at 10:30 on Saturday morning, and the place had been plowed, everything was open except the gate. And they have an additional problem in that I tried to call, and I was on hold for 55 minutes when I finally gave up. I mean, I sat there for 15 minutes and then drove home and stayed on hold. And if they're going to have Saturday hours, I think that they have to have Saturday coverage, at least of their phone system, so you can understand what's happening. And I agree with you, by the way, whoever runs it for Royal Karting or whoever they are is a really nice guy. He's very personable, easy to get along with, and helpful, as a matter of fact. The older people go up, I'm not talking about me, but I mean, older people go up, he actually helps unload their cars and stuff. I think it's nicely run, and probably as good as it can be when it's just one day, one part of one day a week. I would like to think that when they take it on themselves to close the facility, that they would give you an alternate day. And it would be automatic. If it's closed Saturday, then it's going to be Tuesday, so everybody in the town would know that. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your attention.
Thanks for,
I've had the same problem with the telephones.
I think they called it noon on, I called you right after that and asked you to put out a blurb that it was closing.
there
But-
was an email that was on the town
Yeah.
website that it would be closed on Saturday because of the forecast of heavy snow.
But this brings up, when we talk to them again about the contract, we should put in some contingency.
Even phone notification so you're not sitting there waiting for someone to pick up. Have a message that it's closed due to the weather and the makeup day will be X. We should have a makeup day.
But it's the same problem that all of us have with communication. It's something you've got to go look for, you don't know to go look for it. Same when we were changing the rules with the landfill. The notice that went out on the town website, I looked at it, I thought, oh my God, they're going to charge me $50 for a little load, and it turned out that was actually a bid that was sent out for large use, not for residential use. So if you have to go look for it, you usually don't know to do that. If it gets pushed, that's optimal, but how do you maintain the ID list? I mean, I understand the issues, but it would just be nice if it were more publicized and more automatic. Every time you have a significant snow, it's going to be Tuesday instead of Saturday. Everybody knows that. You don't have to tell anybody anything.
Does anyone here have a sense for the recycling part of it? If we opened it, let's say Monday for a couple of hours, just to take in recycling and not garbage, does anybody know if that would help anything?
Bruce, I only take recycling.
I take my garbage there, and now I'm going to have 2-week-old garbage before I get to dump my garbage. And what do I do with that? I mean,
Yeah.
I live in the 1870s farmhouse, and so I basically have a buffet for my mice.
Well, I have that too, but.
Yeah, it seems right, like a Rhinebeck thing.
The food waste, when you get stuff, you throw it in the freezer.
But my thought is, Bruce, if you're going to have it open for just the recycling, why not be able to toss your garbage in too? Or are you thinking no one would have to be there if you were just recycling?
Well, I'm concerned about the cash flow. If we put in volunteers or something, or had our staff there, we have two problems if we open up the garbage. Because if the compactor fills, then we have to call somebody in to haul everything away. And then there's the collecting of the cash and giving the thing. So that gets we need more thought with that. The recycling part of it isn't that much of a problem because you're just throwing stuff in and there's no money involved.
Yeah, I guess I get the sense, and I had a couple of people ask me, is there a contingency plan? I think garbage is the biggest issue for most people. Based on I don't know, 3 people's comments and my own experience, so it's not broad, but.
The other thing I want to do with this, I want to try and get more of a better handle on the actual number of people, number of households that are using it. Because a lot of these decisions that we made were based on the usage dropping off from 36% down to 13% of the residences in town. And, I don't know whether that's changed, whether it's leveled off or the trend's continuing. But
Just had a thought, there is a conflict of interest though for Royal, because if they keep those hours short on the transfer station, you're more than likely to eventually give up and just hire them and pick up at your house.
yeah,
So why would they want to stay open more hours?
I think that's a fair notion to consider, but if you go and you look at all the other towns, basically, or most of the other towns, we're not at more hours than quite a few of them. The one that's best, though, I think, is Beekman. They all have Sunday hours. They have Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I don't know how they do that, but
Who runs that?
Royal. So, there's more improvements that we need to do here, so,
I think that's a busier facility.
yeah.
It's hard to believe, but
It's a bigger town, right? It's a bigger,
Yeah.
don't they have 20,000 people in Beekman?
15,000.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussions? We have executive session. That pertains to what? Is it for discussion on what?
Matters leading to the appointment of a particular person, current litigation, and collective bargaining pursuant to Article 14, I think, of Civil Service.
So we might be there for a while. We were supposed to follow up on another item, which we're going to look for something in the back. Right, what was that?
I'm going to try to find the attachment to that resolution.
Affordable housing.
Yeah, but that, so, all right, well, we'll just find out. So I guess Fred will be here. We may make a decision afterwards, based upon the affordable housing issue, at least. So.
It matters
The
to the
appointment,
appointment of
yeah.
a particular person.
Okay. Before we do that, any comments from the public? Because it might be a little while. Okay, all right. So motion,
Just a quick comment, in the report for the liaison in the Northern Duchess Alliance, that was videotaped. I did videotape that whole talk and stuff, and that can be found on YouTube under Fred Cartier Video Service.
Fred Cartier's video service on YouTube, okay.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
So do we have a motion in all that?
Motion second to
Motion.
go into executive session.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So, you want to follow up with this, Joe, first of all, the workforce housing follow-up?
Yes,
Are you back in session?
yeah. We have on the agenda a motion to approve the filing and signing by our supervisor of a declaration containing these types of covenants. And this will be filed together with our agreement with the gardens and will run in perpetuity. Paragraph 1 says the restrictions in this declaration and in the agreement which is attached thereto will run with the land. Paragraph 2 that says that these restrictions will bind every person at any time in the future and again run with the land. And in the event of a sale of the unit, these restrictions come within it. Paragraph 3 gives the town the right to enforce these restrictions. Paragraph 4 allows the town to waive the restrictions, and we may have to waive in the event of FHA. And 5 allows us to amend the conditions just in case we think of some other restriction that we want in the future, but that amendment will not apply to the existing owner and the existing finance source. So if we have a motion to approve our supervisor signing this, and I so move.
Second?
Good, Bruce.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's so moved.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Joe.
A second item, item 2, the executive session. Elizabeth, you want to follow up on that?
I'd like to make a motion to hire Karen Hagstrom as our certiorari attorney at $150 an hour.
Second.
Any discussion?
For this is this year, and she would send us a retainer agreement saying that we can use her on those things we request. That's the usual form of our retainer.
I'll request a retainer agreement from her tomorrow.
We had motion second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, so moved. 5-1, sorry.
4-1.
5-0, I'm sorry.
5-0.
I'm sorry, 5-0,
Unanimous,
yeah.
okay.
Next item, Elizabeth?
I'd like to make a motion to retain Warren Raplansky as our municipal counsel at $165 an hour.
Second.
That's what she said, 165? 165.
And I'll request a retainer agreement from him tomorrow as well.
Any
Right, and again, it's on those matters that we refer to him.
Any
Yeah.
discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? I'll abstain on that.
Me too.
So moved. And is there?
No other action. Thank you.
Great.
I have, I'd like to know, the town clerk residency law was repealed. It's still on the books.
We never voted on it. Did we repeal it?
It was repealed, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
It's still on the books.
What does that mean?
That may be they just haven't reprinted it.
Westlaw
You're
or-
saying that
You
when
mean
you look in the statute book,
Online?
it's still there?
Well, there's two things. One is, that we haven't gotten some stuff up to general code that we need to get up there. But two, if it's repealed, I believe that they still keep the old local law up there. But just the new one that repeals it goes up. I'm not sure about that. It's possible. I could be wrong with that. General code may or may not do it that way.
Okay, well, I'd like to be sure that it's off the books pretty soon.
It is.
I don't want to have people looking at it.
Fair
Are you
enough.
going to fire John?
No, I'm not going to fire John.
I think, John, all you got to do is maybe call them. We know we filed it with the Secretary of State.
Right, it's filed with the Secretary of State, it just has to get up to general code.
Right, so
Yep,
I think they
that's-
reprint it, not every day,
Periodically.
so, maybe they have that reprint in. Or maybe we need to pass some more laws so we get some volume, so.
I have one other thing, I'd like to schedule, well, we talked about the CAB candidate, we're going to interview the CAB candidate the next meeting at 6:30.
Okay.
Also, the Park Committee would like to come and present the status of where they are. They've
Fantastic.
been going around doing all that kind of
Do they
stuff.
want to do it at a town board meeting?
Yeah, at the next meeting,
Okay.
presentation.
Great.
So motion and second to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
All in favor, aye?
Aye!
Aye, so moved.
I abstain.